So, I was watching this podcast over the weekend, and the interviewer came up with a very thought worthy question, and I thought it might be worth sharing it with you guys. He asked the other person if you could pass on one trait of your own to your future child, what would it be? And the interviewee, right, the person being interviewed was Alex Hormozi, whom I've seen for a long time on YouTube. And I don't know too much about him, but what I know is that he's a very successful entrepreneur and he has a very strong presence in the self-help world. And from what I knew about him, I was expecting him to answer something like intelligence, perseverance, eloquence, or maybe social skills, these kinds of qualities. But what he said was he wanted to pass on his courage. Because without courage, any other skills or qualities you possess become useless. And I thought about it and that was true, right? It immediately made sense that courage is the most valuable trait a human being can have. For example, what's the point of being articulate if you cannot talk in front of other people? What's the point of being exceptionally intelligent if you cannot share your knowledge? What's the point of being perspicacious if you cannot share your point of view? And if you think about it, everything in this world that we enjoy comes from the brave souls that kept on going despite public rejection, right? If Galileo Galilei stopped speaking the truth and succumbed to the Catholic Church in the 17th century, we would never have known that Earth revolved around the sun. If Vincent van Gogh gave up painting because he only sold one out of his 100 paintings, we would never have known about the beauty of art. And, it's not just the renowned historical figures, but, our ancestors, brothers and sisters, and everyone who walked the path of life with dignity and courage. They did their best in their respective positions. That's why we live in the world that we are today. Nowadays, I know that, a lot of the world feels like one big matrix. And it kind of feels like the system has already solidified and this cannot be cracked. And, as an individual, I know how frustrating it is for us to suffer in a system where we are used up and discarded like batteries. And, even monitored for what we are allowed to say online. And when you look at videos online, every tech CEO do this, right? Every tech CEO does this. Tech CEOs praise the new age of AI, saying that the world will be a completely different place with a very optimistic, repugnant smile. But if you're anything more than a sheep, you realize how easy this tech could be manipulated to create a stronger totalitarian control. Who knows? One day, we might have built-in telescreens in every single room that read our facial expressions and feed us bullshit propaganda. And I know it sounds bleak, but that's not the point that I want to make. What I want to say is, dark times make stronger men. Courage might be the only thing that is worth preserving going forward, right? Because without it, we would all be but puppets of artificial intelligence. Just like how we are puppets of the algorithm today. I would rather choose to die on my feet rather than live on my knees. This is a quote from a movie called 300, Rise of the Empire, where the Athens hero Themistocles unites all of Greece to stand up and fight against the Persians. And it's a wonderful quote, to be honest. I'll die on my feet rather than live on my knees. And I wonder, what would that look like in 2026.